Recording in progress. It's good to know. Going to go live on the stream. It's now streaming live. Bail out of that so we can't hear ourselves. It's a little bit of messing around with all this. Are you working out how to share it to your page, by the way?
Oh no! Oh shit!
Yep. We're not allowed to swear, We're live now.
I've just shrunk you down. Here we go.
I can still see you.
So,
Sprintcar Speedweek. It says we're live, which is good news. I'll just share it to my page.
done it again.
Talk. You've got the PR agent sitting on your lap.
Yep.
Bordertown. Sweet. All right. So then hopefully people can let us know if the audio is working groovy. Talia Pelt, good to see you tuned in. Just let us know if you can hear okay. Sean Fitzpatrick. Now, Dylan, everyone's going to ask, can you make sure that you get late models? Can you make sure you get wingless? I've already had a couple of questions. When you talk to Dylan, can you make sure that you ask for us? Brian Chalmers is a good example, the dad of the brand new Australian late model champion. So just wanted to check if anyone can let us know if audio is groovy. Hopefully that is. Hello, Emma Weesey as well. Graham Earhart tuned in. So everyone's going to be very interested in this, Dylan, because everybody wants to know about this cool new speedway and what's going on. So, and Jenkin is tuned in. Now I know we've made it. If your mum is tuned in, Dilzo, then we know we're in good touch, right?
Yeah, no, we're all over it now.
Perfect. Tuna Mornay, right?
That's the go. Your favourite.
It was the only thing that wasn't. The only thing. They were good times. Over your shoulder is a picture that we took of your beautiful Kenworth and the race team from back in the day at Archfield when we had that. Was that the same time we had that go-kart race when Lions?
Yeah, yep. Exactly.
Wow, seems like a lifetime ago. Hello to Nicholas Polito, who's tuned in. He's a part of the pro stock world. Drag racing is a little bit of a crossover thing going on as well. So I just want to ask if everybody can share this. So press the little blue button there as well and just go with share and we can get the word out because we're going to talk all things Bordertown, Tatiara, Duke's Highway, whatever you want to talk about, Tatiara Karting Club, Bordertown, Tolmer Speedway. There's so many different variations. Hello to Adam Curry tuned in as well. Luke Wilson. Dennis Little says the sound is good. Aaron Brunner. Greg Appelt is tuned in as well. So we're talking with Dylan Jenkin as the very last minute kind of thing was like, hey, we're building a bit of momentum here talking about the new Speedway. Everybody wants to know about the identical Peevely. So it's a good chance for us to talk to Dylan. And Dylan, you were on Sunday, you sat down with a bunch of people from Avalon, from Borderline Speedway, Mount Gambier, and also from Premier Speedway, Warrnambool. Everyone's very keen to bring you guys into the mainstream world of Speed Week. What was it like having those guys and what were their impressions?
Yeah, look, obviously they're pretty excited to see the track when they got there and pretty surprised to see the progress that had been made since the last time they were there. Probably a pretty blunt start to the conversation was to make sure that we are going to be ready, and if we are, then we are ready, and if we're not, well, that's how it is. But obviously they want to get Speed Week up and running and get it done soon so that everyone knows what's happening for next season so that everyone can start planning for it and we can make it as good as possible.
I just saw a pretty cool drone shot that got sent to me and it's being shared around everywhere, as you can well imagine already. So everybody is keen to see, what it's going to be like, what it looks like. It's sort of a fairly recent shot right there. That's the dirt kart track. At the top of the screen, the Duke's Highway and Bordertown is off to the left of that shot. And then you've got the highway running just there down that right-hand side. Pretty exciting time, mate.
Yeah, look, obviously our club was 60 years old the year that we decided to close it. So it's been around the town for a long time. We've been part of it as a family since I was 12. Oh, I've been part of it. My dad and mum were part of it well before the days that I was even born. So they're 52 years or 53 years, I nearly think, that they've been part of it. So it was pretty sad to see it close down, but with some enthusiasm from Wayne Rowett mainly, yeah, we're starting to build a whole new facility.
There's a term that my boys use in their soccer games, onions, and it means that you're crying. Like, oh yeah, onions. Well, in this case, onions will probably be everybody's favorite vegetable because that is where the Rowett passion comes from, onion farming. And I know that Snow is no longer sort of directly involved in the ownership of that, and he's turned his attention almost 100% to this project, hasn't he? Certainly, him and Andrew and the Rowett family have gone full steam ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Without that drive and passion, it would never have happened. So yeah, it's exciting, and that enthusiasm is really infectious. So there's a lot of other people behind the scenes that are making it happen. We've got some local businesses that are just I probably don't even want to know how much it's costing them as well, but especially the concreters and the electrical guys. Yeah, it's huge. I was up there again today, and yeah, there's a dozen people going pretty hard. So yeah, it's all happening.
There's a lot of different thought process going on with this as well. And Snow is big, along with Lauren and Tiffany and the team, in securing government funding. And they're working really hard on government grants, or grants, if I'm saying it from South Australia. And that's something that probably a lot of speedways haven't really looked in a great deal. This is going to, I think, show a lot of the existing promoters how to access government money. And if you remember back to the Aussie acre dirt cart title, the Premier of South Australia showed up and came over and had a look, and the tourism manager was there, Sport and Rec. And so right from the start, there's been an emphasis on lobbying the government here.
Yeah, without that cash injection from the government, it's never going to happen. We've never been able to get to where we've got to. But it is on council land. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that differentiates us from a lot of other tracks. It's council owned. So and then as soon as the council was on board, the state government were all over it. But I think without that council, that local government interest, I don't think the state would have got on board. But yeah, they have, and that's exciting. And once we get this up and running, we obviously had funding to have what we had, not an additional. So we had funding for a wall, lights, and catch fence, basically.
Yeah.
And then there's, once we get that spent and built and shown that we can do it in budget or under budget, I think that shows that we're keen and we're serious and that we can manage it properly, and they'll hopefully come back with some more.
And they're also looking at a lot of the tourism aspect of this, the logistics of what people spend in the region. When you look into the government grant side of things, they really require a lot of information. So it's actually forcing Tolmer or Bordertown Speedway at this point to really look very closely at understanding the industry. So actually, when they're reporting back to the government, they need to know. And they were asking me yesterday, how long has Speedweek been going? I said, wow, pretty well since 2001, 2002, thereabouts, right then, when we initially had to get together because Parramatta Speedway had Brian Healy at the helm, and he was extremely proactive, along with Stephen Green, of trying to bring the big traveling teams back to race in Sydney more often. And we sat down with the promoters group, with Wendy and Bob at Speedway City, and Moss Buchanan at Murray Bridge, and Jeff Drew at Avalon, and I think Hosey, I think, was initially involved from Premier Speedway Warrnambool. We said, hey, we need to be a collective and we need to ramp things up to get this interest. And that's where Speedweek was given a more formal sort of structure. So understanding more about how all the different tracks work, I think, will help everybody in this whole process. And I know that Snow is working hard on securing Victorian funding as well for for Premier and for Avalon as well. So they're not just thinking about your own backyard. And that probably doesn't surprise you, Dylan, because Bordertown as a community is a pretty global thinking little community.
Yeah, look, we're obviously not a tourist town. We're not a tourist destination, so we've got to build it for them to come. We're usually just somewhere for people to stop when they're passing through to somewhere else. So we've got to try and capture that as best we can. Obviously, we don't have accommodation, so we've got to think outside the square on how we're going to house and do stuff like that. Whether it's they're coming for the day and going out for lunch to the pub and things like that where you really need to capture so that the locals can cash in a bit as well. Obviously, Speedweek is probably a bit of a travelling circus to an extent, and it's got its own crowd that will follow the whole way through. I think that's why we need to get on the front foot and get it advertised early, like you have been doing, and having you on board was, it was high on the priority of the guys on our meeting on Sunday. It was unanimous decision to make this happen, so that, because we know that if you're involved, it'll be special anyway. So we can just piggyback off your enthusiasm and keep us all enthused, ready to go.
We all love it, mate. There's no doubt about that. I noticed that Sheridan Rowett is tuned in. One thing I noticed during the 8K Dirt Kart titles, that little club did an amazing job of a major event. And the canteen ladies, mate, they just absolutely smashed it out of the park. The track maintenance, the canteen, the promotional team, the little Tatiara Dirt Kart Club did a phenomenal job with the Australian title. So I think even around the Speedway part of it, there's already an understanding of community and committees that know how to run events.
Yeah, that's right. That crew do an amazing job. It's amazing to see what they do. And I don't know if they get enough credit, to be honest, but I know that trying to back that up anywhere else is really going to be a challenge for the next club. So
yeah,
they've raised the bar on pretty much everything that they've done. So hopefully they come across and help with Speedway, which is what's happening anyway, with Sandy being involved, or Andrew.
Yeah.
That family atmosphere that we wanted to try and create, we wanted that in the Speedway as well.
Oh, look, it opens up the idea of running, dual events, having 8K racing on during the day, on the Saturday or the Sunday, and having juniors involved and crossing over there as well. I still think we should put even stagger on and make the dash over on the 8K track. What do you think? That'd level it up, wouldn't it?
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Mate, there's a lot of talk. Oh, it's apparently like Peevely. It's been copied on Peevely or I-55. It's not like. It is absolutely the same. That was one thing that Snow did with all of the GPS mapping. Literally, he couldn't work out why there was a dip, I think, going into, was it turn one?
Yeah, it's on the highway side there. We're not sure if it's going to be turn 1 or turn 3 yet.
Yeah, but it was like, hang on, there's a dip here. Like, what are we doing? And they didn't realize it's actually where the cars go off the track into the pit. It's that precise.
It is exact. Yeah.
That's amazing. Where are we at? Where in terms of what currently have you done and what is still to be done?
All the light towers are up. The concrete wall is majority up. The gate frames are in. We're backfilling today. We're backfilling the concrete walls, compacting that down with excavators, carting lots of dirt in. The track will be final trim tomorrow before the surface starts to go on. So I think the surface will be on within a couple of weeks.
Yep.
I would say by the time it all gets laid and compacted and watered in. But yeah, obviously getting it built and getting the catch fence up is only one aspect of it, but then the buildings to go around it, canteens, toilets.
Yep.
So that's why there's a big push right now, is to try and get the earthworks done so that can settle over the winter.
Yep.
And then from here, hopefully we can lobby the government again over the winter and see if we can get a bit more funding. But obviously we've got to work out how to manage crowds and crowd sizes and what we can and can't achieve with that. But if we can get the catch fence up, we can get it all backfilled, and you can worry about that in spring.
The guys, the meetings I've had with Andrew and Snow a couple of times, they're already thinking ahead. We don't want to have the events be too long on the night. We want to make sure we keep it compact. We know we need to provide accommodation options around the town in different areas when you travel through and out. So they're already thinking just, beyond the actual physicality of building this place. They're thinking about how the show will be presented and how that will work as well in a more modern time frame. So everything they're bringing is a very fresh attitude to this, Dylan.
Yeah, looking at it from a competitive point of view, I suppose, not from a promoter point of view. Yeah, obviously, Bordertown's limited to accommodation, so we can't have 2,000 people staying in town. They have to be getting out of here at a decent hour, a decent time, so they can either get home or get to the next town to be in their accommodation. So it's definitely front of mind. It's obviously going to take some practice to get the show through like we want it to get done. We've got to try and limit car counts and stuff like that early in the season to make sure that we can manage what we're doing rather than over promising and under delivering. We'll try and keep a lid on it a little bit, which is going to be tough because there's a lot of excitement around, but we're just going to have to be realistic about it.
And I think people need to manage their expectations too, Dylan, from a spectator point of view. I vividly recall us going to Heartland Raceway with World Series Sprint Cars, the very first event that they had.
Yeah, I remember that night.
And it was, it was probably spectacular, but it was also horrific because they had a legitimate almost 10,000 people. It was 40 degrees. It was typical, Moama, Echuca Moama weather. And, the power was going out and the canteen struggled and all those sort of things. So I think people just got to come there and go, let's just be excited and be positive about this in every way we can.
Yeah, I think for us, the biggest key is to get the track right. The bits that are bolted down and concrete down, we can get that bit right. Get the wall, catch fence and track right. And then from there, we can build it as we go. But like you said, people need to be a little bit patient too. We didn't have $100 million from government money to build it. We had just enough to get what we've got done. But I think it is important to try and run races like Speedweek to then get the cash. If we could pull it off and get enough cash, we can then start to reinvest. So that'll be the key moving forward. But yeah, we need to keep a lid on it a little bit.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right, and that the players that you're talking about, the investors in this, and that goes financially as well as physically and mentally invested in this event. It's all going to be about the idea of reinvesting back in, continually grow this thing. It's not about let's fill the joint, put some money in our pockets. I can't see that that's even a short-term plan. It needs to be viable. All businesses need to be viable. But I know with Snow and with Andrew and guys like yourself, and your dad has been a phenomenal investor in local industry with Tatiara Truck and Trailers for years and years, and you only get back by putting back in and continually reinvesting. It's almost like a crop, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And we're trying to invest into our local community so that we can attract people to come and work here. There's plenty of work going on. We just need the people. And if you can keep them interested in the town and give them things to do, hopefully they'll hang around.
So Bordertown itself, tell me about that as a town.
Yep, 3,000 people, roughly. It's 2.5 hours from Adelaide, 4.5 hours from Melbourne on the main highway, obviously near the border. Massive farming community. If you get a rolled oat in something that's not Uncle Toby's, it probably came through Bordertown. We got a big meatworks. We got a bit going on really. It is a nice little community. It's obviously home for us. We love it. So yeah.
And with your business, with your family business, with Tatiara Truck and Trailers, it's a transport hub. I mean, fundamentally, a lot of major trucking companies use you guys as a portal.
Yeah, well, there's obviously a major oat miller. A lot of oats come through. There's a lot of meatworks, a lot of sheep or lambs coming in and out. There's grapes getting grown. There's carrots, onions, potatoes. It is a big hub. So transport's a big part of this town.
Dylan, the name of this place, there's a lot of conjecture. Is it going to be still called Tolmer? Is it going to be called the Bull Ring? Is it going to be called Bordertown? And it's hard not to say borderline when you say Bordertown. There's a number of things here in the naming is quite important in the scheme of this here. And you and I talked about this for a while yesterday on the phone, that I think at some point the word Bordertown needs to be referenced because you need to know where the place is. If you're not, directly in the region or no, it's like Toowoomba Speedway, right? Sydney Speedway, Claremont Speedway, Bunbury Speedway, Murray Bridge Speedway. It needs to Avalon Raceway. It needs to have a point to its geography, but that's not the whole answer, is it?
No, but like you said, Bordertown needs to be somewhere in it. Whether it stays as Tolmer Speedway Bordertown, I don't think it's not the end of the world yet. But no, we'll see how we go.
Snow's not a fan of the word bull ring. I had a chat yesterday. He said, "Oh, it sounds like a rodeo." I said, "Well, it's kind of a rodeo. There's bucking bulls and stuff like that, But
well, it's she's pretty high banked, mate. It could be a rodeo.
What's it like as a driver to stand at the gutter and look up towards that wall? Because, you know, you haven't driven consistently for a little while now. Is this tingling all the right parts of your body?
Oh, it is for sure. Definitely tingling the right parts. But it is an intimidating concrete wall because it hasn't got the track surface on it yet. So it's above your head at the minute. But once it starts to take shape, I think it'll settle down a bit.
I noticed that Lisa Walker was just tuned in before, and Lisa's just recently announced that she's going to take some time away from racing and start looking at her, you know, her family life and things like that. I'm like, Lisa, maybe next year. She's
A bit
hopefully going
like,
to come back for a couple of cameos because you must be getting a sense of the excitement around this, Dylan.
yeah, for sure. It's hard not to. It'd be rude not to. But yeah, it does look good. The track looks good.
Out of all the tracks that Snow could have picked, he picked Peevely. Do you have any idea with his mindset as to why he wanted to absolutely duplicate this? I know Johnny Gibson says often imitated, never duplicated, but in this case, it is duplicated. Why did he pick Peevely, do you think?
Well, he went and asked the drivers in America what was their favourite track, and they unanimously said I-55. So if you're going to build their favourite track, you might as well build their favourite track.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Has it been, you know, are you up to where you thought you would be at this point with putting it together with the build?
I think personally, I think we're ahead of schedule. I didn't think it would probably get even to where it's got to, let alone get off the ground and be built. So it's phenomenal to see what it is now. Because 4 years ago, when we closed it down, you would never have pictured it even rebuilding or redoing a concrete wall. But I think when you're in it and running it, it's hard to see how it can continue on. But as soon as you close it down, man, they come out of the woodworks to make it happen. So unfortunately, we had to close it down because it was unsafe. People were going to get hurt if we continued on where we were or what we were doing. So
Yep.
the best thing that ever happened to it was get pushed in a hole to save that. So now at least we've got something that's going to be safe.
Look, Tolmer Speedway had a very similar situation, you know, with realizing after the Rusty Hickman crash that the lighting, the fencing, all that sort of stuff was particularly precarious. So at the time it was devastating. It was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's the future like? But now they've come back and the place is absolutely a rock star little venue. So it's forced people to step things up. And that's exactly what's happening with Tolmer.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, if someone got hurt and you knew or you could see the potential in it, that someone could get hurt, you'd never sleep at night. So that's probably why we made the decision to close it, because it was getting to that point that if someone got hurt, you couldn't sleep. So
Yeah.
I think now with the wall, the fence, everything that's going to be like it is, it's done properly. Someone come up there the other day and Neil Keller came and saw it the other day, like Brad's dad, and said
Yep.
there's not one thing that's secondhand. So I think we're giving it the best chance.
Jake Tranter just tuning in, who was racing, of course, of the Aussie Acre title. The Snake used to get around in sprint cars pretty good. There's guys like that, I think, suddenly are going to want to get back into hot rods. Andrew was telling me as well, very proudly, that a lot of the young karting fraternity, the kids, the teenagers, have been helping to, you know, work on a lot of the actual manual labor to help get this thing through. Like a lot of the light girders and things like that for the fence and everything. These kids have been thrashing on it.
Yeah, without that, it wouldn't have happened. So with those kids racing karts, they want to move on from go-karts into something else. And if we don't build something like this, they won't have anywhere to go. They'll be forced to do something else, whether it's bitumen or something, we might lose them to the sport. So, and having those kids getting involved and building something, with a bit of luck, in 10, 15 years' time, when all of us are a bit puffed out, they'll have the enthusiasm to take it on because they were part of the build. I think that's the thought process behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. They're on board. They want to do it. They want to race sprint cars. So didn't want to race anything else. So you got to build them a track that they can race at.
Well, they're invested, aren't they? You know,
They are invested,
they're
for sure.
emotionally and very passionately invested. I think at the moment it's pretty premature to want to talk about, you know, what classes are going to be at a race there, what are the dates, you know, what's going to happen, all that stuff. Right now, the emphasis is 100%, Dylan, on getting
Get
this
it built.
completed.
Getting it built, getting it finished, getting the track right. the rest will come.
Yeah. And I think that, anyone that also that expects you're going to run 40 times a year and all that sort of stuff would be quite unrealistic as well from a, commercial standpoint and working in with other speedways and all that sort of stuff. So right now, the plan is to get the venue ready to rock. Speedweek Night 2, December 27 is going to be the first blue ribbon or elite appearance for sprint car competition there. But I know for a fact that Snow's been looking for some time to want to get cars on the track as early as he can, just people to do testing, to do practice, to learn the surface. So there's a lot that's still to and go with that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, I think more of an emphasis on making sure the surface is right is what we're aiming for, not so much what they can learn. It's more what we can learn.
Yeah,
to
sorry,
make sure
that's what I actually meant. What you
yeah,
guys learn from what the cars do to the track,
that's right. Yep. Yep, for sure. We're not putting a time on that yet. We've just got to beat the rain.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So your car's ready, mate, is it?
Not yet, mate.
Yeah, I reckon there'll be something going on in that shed at some point where all the nice trucks go at some point. All I want people to do, as I urge people every time, Dylan, in our industry, is talk positively. Like
Yep,
we
sure.
just don't need to kill our sport before it even gets started with this. We need to go, this is going to be exciting. There is a lot to learn yet. This is a very new project. None of the people involved, from a Rowett point of view, have been Speedway administrators before. In this respect, you're the one with the history with, and some of your family and folks in the city in the town that were running Tolmer. But this is next level stuff. So I think people got to be patient and understand the passion that's involved. And we don't want to run people out before they even get started.
That's exactly right. Every person that's been involved in this build is a volunteer. There's no one being paid. So the community does need to be patient with us because we're not going to get it all right. And we know we're not going to get it all right, but in time we'll get it better. And they need to come down and help. If they're going to criticise, they need to be there to help. Don't criticise, come and make it happen because it's not happened without it.
I would imagine that that there's a lot of unique challenges with a venue that's banked like that. And, probably the most banked venue is probably High Tech Oil's Toowoomba Speedway from an Australian perspective. So even like an arm that waters the track and watering the surface and stuff, there's a lot of things to learn from this. And I'd be surprised if Wayne isn't talking with Kenny Schrader and the team at I-55 a lot about, how they present their venue, because let's face it, they've built a duplicate of it.
Yeah, Wayne's pretty clever. He'll fix it.
Been watering onions for a lot of years.
He knows what's going on. He knows how to make stuff wet at the right time. So no, he'll get it right.
Yeah, mate. It's a really exciting time, Dylan. I know that when Tolmer was going to close, it was a devastating thing. It was like, oh man, like there's a lot of history that went down the toilet there. But the reality is it's all still sitting there right in that same location. So that's the beautiful part.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I even go up there now and it doesn't feel like I've walked in somewhere else. Obviously, I think when we closed it down, I think Dad and I'd been there for 23 years, since I was 12 going there. And every year I used to do World Series and still prep the track at Bordertown like that.
Yeah.
We'd run a round or a race of Formula 500s during Speed Week. Whilst everyone was having a night off, we'd be back there doing that. So, yeah, it was a big part of our life when we did close it. And I'd be lying if I said there was tears. It wasn't tears, but to see it like it is now and have it in the same spot, I think it feels like you are going home still.
Yeah. I can't wait, mate. I know there's a lot of work still to be done, but I just want to say well done to all of your team. And when I say your team, I mean everybody. I'm not saying it's your team.
I haven't done much up there yet, so it's I probably feel like a bit of a fraud on you now, but I think
you know why I'm talking to you though, because both the Rowett said give it to Dylan, right? So you got to
bring you under the bus.
You got to let under the truck, mate. Under the truck.
Under the truck, yeah.
That's anyway, different.
All good.
So get around their page, the Tolmer Speedway Facebook page. Please like and follow the Tolmer page. If you haven't already done so, I'd love you to start supporting Speedweek as well with the Sprintcar Speedweek Facebook page and help me to grow that, because we're going to go in some next week. There's a very exciting Zoom meeting with a lot of major teams and the promoters of Speedweek to talk about the future with that as well. So there's a lot going on in the background. We just got to be positive and we got to love this sport, Dylan. I'm excited for what's going on in that beautiful little community. And I think the community is going to really grow from this as well, which is an end goal as well.
Oh, the community has to get behind it because we can't feed 5,000 people on one night without the community getting involved.
I don't know. The old Lions Club and everyone did a pretty good job that night when they had the Aussie title. And had the mayor came out, had a live band, and even the Premier was impressed. And that you got a very proactive South Australian Premier as well. Like Malinauskas is a bit of a rev head. He always supports the Adelaide 500. He was out at the Top Fuel drag event at the Bend. So a lot of good things happening, mate. Get back to your girls. I look forward to seeing what your car looks like when you build it. Probably a bit like that one that's in the corner behind you there.
Oh, this bit's going to change. The number's going to have to change, unfortunately, but we'll see how we go.
All right, mate. Always good to talk to you, Dylan. Please
Cool.
get
Thanks,
around
Wade.
the Speedway. It's going to be such an exciting time. Lots of work to do. Just want to put that out there. Still lots of work to do, but we're on the way. As always, Dylan, good to talk to you, mate.
I think the Speedway community needs to get behind it too and come down and help. It's not going to do itself. If they want it, the community's been asking for it. The Speedway community's been asking for something like this, and they might have to come on and help put their money where their mouth is a bit.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a good. How would they get in contact? Is it through the Facebook page, maybe to message and say, hey, how do we get involved? Or we'd like to do this or something like that?
Especially when we're having some working bees later on in spring when we really need those bodies to come down and finish do some fencing and stuff. We'll, it doesn't do itself. So we definitely need them to come and help.
Good to know. I like the hat, mate. Is that old school or is that a new one? What's the go there?
No, that's the old hat, mate. Geez, covers up the bald spot.
That is It's a very cool hat, mate. Looking forward to talking to you more about all of this. And as I said, there's some cool things happening next week for Speed Week planning as well. Don't forget to share this, everybody. Talk to you soon, Dylan. Thanks for your time tonight, mate.
Geez, thanks, Wade. See you later.
Yeah, buddy.